Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. On today's show, we will get into a pretty mediocre trip to California. Not terrible, as Travis Green will tell us here in a moment, but fairly mediocre when you get down to it. No Carter Yakemchuk. It's like Sens fans can't have nice things when you get down to it. I mean, that would be one thing that people were looking forward to. You know, it's going a little sideways right now. But, the World Juniors are coming up in December and the holidays, and be able to see Carter Yakemchuk really lead Team Canada. That's not going to happen. We'll talk about that, too. David Perron going to be out for a little while just yet, and a great conversation with Drake Batherson that we had just before the L.A. game, and he took a puck in the face. All still ahead here on the program. Hopefully we're not bad luck. Greg, how are you?
I'm good, Stephen. I'm very good. I was just going to say the Drake took the puck in the face. You beat me to it. We're the bad luck. We're the SI cover story.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. He had to wear a cage. I guess today at practice he was back to the visor, so he's obviously feeling better. But we'll have our conversation with Drake in our second segment of the program. So generally speaking, again, the Sens get a win in San Jose to start off the California trip that they did not deserve. We know that. We've talked to you since then. L.A., they end up losing to the Kings, and then they lose in a shootout to Anaheim. What did you think of the Kings and Ducks games?
Just not good enough. That's my takeaway from the whole trip, especially from those last two games. Just not good enough, and I'm scared. Here we are. Thanksgiving has come and gone in the States, and on Thanksgiving, they had the 7th worst winning percentage in the NHL. Not good enough. I'm like everyone else in this town. I'm tired of hearing about how good they're going to be, or hearing about how close they are, or hearing about how this game we really put it all together, look real good, and we got to get on a roll now. And it's just same old, over and over and over again here.
Well, we're going to play Travis Green's comments from Tuesday, and I want to ask you about what it'd be like, because you've done a lot of coaching in your days all over this great nation of ours. Slave Lake, Alberta was a beauty a couple of years ago. You'd check in here on the podcast from there, running Team Lebanon right now, lots of different stops. It must be a difficult thing for Travis Green to come into this situation, because probably in his mind, he's like, I've only been here for just a little over 20 games. I'm just getting my feet wet. Whereas your entire fan/customer base doesn't care. They want results right now because they've had mostly a decade of disastrous results, and they don't care that you just got here. It can't be easy for Travis Green to maneuver that, I suppose.
Yeah, in a perfect world, he'd like to have time. He certainly has time, but he'd like to have more time to set things up and get the players playing his way and play the game the way he wants them to play it. But unfortunately, it's an old cliche. Sports is a result-oriented business, and the results have not been good enough. It's not his fault that they're the same old. But I'm sure he's been around long enough now that he can sit down and have a good chat if he wanted. You get a couple of pints into him and have some truth serum mixed in, and he would have some things to say about some of these players and say, yeah, now I can understand why they've had the problems they've had because of player X, Y, and Z who do this, that, and the other thing that lead to these problems. And whether it's on ice or off ice, in the room, on the bench, who knows? There's a problem here, and it's gone on long enough through enough different coaches now, through a second set of management team now, that you've got to start wondering, when's the core going to be changed in some way, shape, or form?
Yeah, I think we're a week or two maybe away from absolutely have to do something, because you can't just keep banging your head against the same door. It's Groundhog Day right now. And, Bill Murray, if he was in this movie, he'd be like, okay, this is a little much. This is a little excessive. Fans have just seen the movie again and again. One thing I like is that Jacques Martin was here all last season as the coach of this team and taking a really honest view of things on behalf of Steve Staios. And so now Steve Staios has Travis Green and his opinion of things through 20-some games, but he's also got Jacques Martin and his view of things last year. So I think he's armed with a lot of information right now to make the appropriate decision and go out and do what he needs to do.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. Fans are speculating. Sports radio is speculating. Everyone's speculating who's going to get traded. Who should you trade this guy? Should it be that guy? Talking about contracts, talking about health, talking about is this player in the right position now where his value is high enough? Do we move him now? Do we wait till later? Steve Staios, as you just outlined, for all those reasons, is in the perfect position now. He's been here long enough. He's observed this team play. He's had Dave Poulin with him, who's watched this team play. And don't forget, Pooley spent a couple of seasons watching the Senators and did a number of their games in color or in the studio between periods. He's seen this team play a lot before too. And you got Travis Green, you got Jacques Martin. There's lots of voices in that room, and intelligent voices, people who have assessed things, and they aren't going to panic. They aren't going to give somebody away for nothing. They're going to try to make trades that will improve this team and shake things up at the same time. So yeah, the time's coming. The time's coming. You've got 5 of the next 6, I think it is, at home. And then it's 9 straight on the road, broken up by the Christmas break. But because of the World Juniors, if they don't get through these next 5 of 6 at home with a decent point total, like they're done. They're done by Christmas.
Yeah. What I don't know, I have great respect for the intelligence and the hockey IQ of Steve Staios and in particular Dave Poulin. What we don't know is for sure, because really Dave Poulin had his time in Toronto, but he's done everything. But I worry Staios as a rookie GM. Does he have the ability at the NHL level to identify and make the right decisions? Identifying is hard enough. What you think is the problem, and it was actually this was the problem. But making the right choices and moving forward, I believe they can. But until I see it, you just don't know for sure. Particularly in the case of Staios, who's again a rookie general manager in the league. There. Yeah. That's right. Exactly.
We've never seen them make a deal. It's not like you can look at Steve Staios' trading record and say, he won this one, he won that one, he lost this one. We could sit here and debate Pierre Dorion trades for hours. You got a lot of years of them to look at. Steve Staios has never made a trade. Well, I guess the Jensen deal, right? Chikrin. But he hasn't really had a lot of trades in his history, and his resume is lacking in that department. So he's going to make a statement for sure, because I'm sure it'll be a bigger name than people thought it was going to be a year ago. Who was going to be moved out. I think you wouldn't have thought it would be a big name at the start of the year, but now you're thinking, yeah, it's got to be a big name. So it's going to be interesting to see what kind of deal he swings, or if it's a couple small ones or what happens. But something's going to come, and then we'll have something to look back on someday. We'll have something to talk about, Steve. Discuss the trades. I look forward to that.
You mentioned Chikrin there, just as an aside. I don't know if you noticed, he's got 8 goals in Washington, which is more goals. That's more goals, I think, than all of Ottawa's blue liners put together, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check that. But we don't want to talk about that. Let us hear from head coach of the Ottawa Senators, Travis Green, on Tuesday after the California trip.
How would you sum up your team's California trip?
So. Yeah. But, I didn't think we had our legs the first game. I think that was obvious. Found a way to win. LA game was exactly like what we thought it would be, a tight checking game. I thought we broke first. It was one of those games where whoever kind of makes a mental error or a defensive lapse is going to lose the game. And I thought that was us. I thought it could have gone either way. And the Ducks game, I like that we played our best period at the end. And when you lose in a shootout, for me, you're kind of flipping coins when it gets to that.
What did you see from Shane Pinto's game, and in particular that third period against the Ducks?
Yeah, it looked like Pint's game against the Ducks. It's a good step in the right direction for him. Positive.
What about Linus's game? In the Anaheim game and in the San Jose game?
Looked good. Yeah, really good. Liked it.
3 goals, and I think their last 9 games. How would you assess your team's defensive structure?
Slipped a little. I think part of it is we missed Zuby a little bit. He's a good defender. You just don't replace top defending defensemen. I think that is part of it. Playing on the road, you don't always have your matchups that you want, but it slipped a little, but not terribly. Is how I would assess it.
talk about something like what areas do you feel like the team's?
Well, I don't think there's one area. I mean, the San Jose game we gave up a lot. I mean, that's pretty obvious. But the next two games weren't terrible. They weren't great as far as our defensive game goes.
Not terrible. There you go. That's honestly, that's probably as complimentary as you can be about that California trip. They come home 500 points percentage, and that's kind of how the team has been. Hopelessly tethered to that 500 mark. And you might think to yourself every once in a while, man, is Green being rude there? Anytime you ask him to break down one individual player, he's going to short answer because he doesn't like to wax on about one guy to the good or the bad. He likes to speak in the collective, and that's why he does that. So just for fans who are curious about why he short answers sometimes, that is his MO, I believe.
Oh, you're bang on, Steve. It's short and curt, and it sounds rude, but really, he might as well just say, "Look, I don't like talking about individuals." Next question. That's essentially what he's doing. There's a part of me that wants him to just say the same thing I said to open this. Like we're not good enough. What was your assessment of your team's Western road trip? We weren't good enough. Like that's the answer. We didn't have our legs for game one. Okay, but you won that game. You had your legs for games 2 and 3, and you lost them. I don't care if the third period was your best period against the Ducks. You still lost the game. All right. It's just, it's becoming not acceptable. And I want to know what the inner management what their circle thoughts were on the season as far as a projected point total, where they expect to be in the standings. Was their goal? Yeah. Like we think we can finish 7th in the East. Did they think they were a playoff team? Like, we don't know. We don't know. Maybe this is exactly what they thought they were. Who knows? We're never going to know, I guess. But I'd be interested in knowing exactly how disappointed or angry they really are. And because you're just not going to find out. You're not going to get emotional responses.
I haven't given up. I'm frustrated like every other Sens fan, but I haven't given up yet. But at some stage of the game, you have to, and I probably should have been there 2 years ago. But at some point, you have to go like, okay, this is totally show me mode. Now we're now in the show me state, and until you guys actually make the playoffs, I'm not going to hope for you to make the playoffs anymore. But here we are, all the same. It's December, and I still have not given up hope. But would I put dime one on it? Absolutely not.
Good.
Meanwhile, the World Juniors are coming up later this month, and like I said off the top, I mean, I just assumed Carter Yakemchuk was going to be there. Yeah, but he is not. Hockey Canada and the management group there, led by Al Murray. Any of these names like you work with Hockey Canada quite a bit. You've got, Brent Seabrook, I believe the former Chicago Blackhawk defenseman is in the group. Scott Salmond, I think you've said before that you've known
Sammy.
him.
Yep, I know Sammy.
Anyway, and there's a few others, names escaping me, but this, Dave Cameron's in on that as well. The management group is made up of, 10 guys, and they decided that, that the 7th overall draft pick in this year's NHL draft, who was, very, very close to making an NHL team, they decided that guy wasn't good enough to be one of the best 10 players on defense in Canada. I think that's laughable. And I say that with some level of ignorance because I don't spend any time watching the other 10 guys. But I find it very shocking that he's not there.
Yeah, I would not have been shocked if he didn't make the team. Like I would not have been shocked if he showed up at camp and, they're looking for a more structured defensive play. They have other people who can provide offense. So, we need to have a good, solid defensive look here. I would understand if he was invited and then didn't make the team, but that he's not one of the top 10 Canadian born defensemen. That I find hard to believe. And I like you. I don't know the other 9 inside and out. I've probably seen a few of them play here and there, but I too am shocked. It's wow. Especially after the training camp and the exhibition season that he had, and the fact that if this were a different time and place, he probably would have made the roster, right? If there was a different thought process going into it, saying, hey, the kid can play, let's keep him. Wow. I'm shocked.
I wonder if there's not subconsciously a bit of this Hockey Canada management group that, I don't know, maybe is sort of, like I say, whether they're conscious of it or not, maybe they have this vibe of, we'll show the NHL a thing or two about amateur scouting. Like most of the 10 guys in this group, a lot of them have NHL experience already. And I'm guessing they'd love to be in the NHL making millions of dollars. I'm just going to throw that out there. Is that possible that they kind of just try to take the road less traveled because they want to kind of prove a point, maybe?
I like the idea that you're thinking about it, Steve, but I would say no. In my experience working with Hockey Canada, with U17 teams, with U18 teams, I've been to World Junior Team camps. No, just the Hockey Canada way, the Canadian way, just is runs everything. Like it wouldn't be possible for a feeling like that, I think, to permeate through a group. I really think that this is their assessment. They see the kid as being outside the top 10. That doesn't mean they don't think those other people are necessarily more talented than he is. It just comes down to an all-around game and fitting in on this team. Where does he fit? And I gotta believe that there are players that are better than him offensively in their mind, so that he's not going to make because he is an offensive guy, right? He's not a defensive stalwart. He's going to play on this team and he's going to be produced. He's going to be an offensive guy. So I got to believe that that's what they think, that there are offensive players better than him. And therefore in a 4-5-6 role, there are guys better suited to that than him. So that leaves him on the outside looking in. I got to think that's what it is.
I know Bruce Garriock at practice at some point got a chance to have a brief chat with Steve Staios, and he said Staios isn't happy with Yakemchuk being passed over. The quote was, "We understand these are difficult." This is the quote from Staios.
Right.
"We understand these are difficult decisions to make, and worthy players often don't make the cut. However," and this is Staios, "however, it was peculiar that 4 players selected inside the top 9 of this year's NHL draft were omitted from the camp roster. In our view, Carter's having a tremendous season, and his ability to thrive under pressure is something we feel Team Canada could have benefited from in a high-stakes tournament." That line there about saying it's peculiar that 4 players selected inside the top 9 of the draft were omitted, that's going down the road that I kind of just went down a moment ago. And but
exactly.
I'm going to go with your take on things because you work with them all the time. So.
Well, let's see how they do, Steve. If they lose, we know who to blame.
Yep. I mean, it comes down to this. It's like, and I thought, who was it that I read today about that? It was Grant McCagg, friend of the show, does a bunch of scouting. And he was basically saying something along the lines, and I'm paraphrasing, this happens every year. Every single year, there's lots of guys who make the team who deserve it, and there's lots of guys who don't make the team who deserve to be on the team. The honest thing is, and now this is me, you could easily put in 3-4 Canadian teams, and any one of them could win the gold medal.
Right. Yeah. But unlike the old days, there was a time when Hockey Canada used what was called a ghost roster, where they identified the characteristics, the personality traits, and the skill sets by position. First line center, first line left wing, first line right wing, second line center. And they had a list of the qualities that they're looking for and the playmaking skills and the scoring. This guy should be a goal scorer and a leader, and this guy needs to be a penalty killer, and yada, yada. That's how you ended up with Rob Zaminer on a Canadian Olympic team. When Gretzky came along and took over the next time around, Gretzky said, that's not the way it works. This is an all-star team. We're just taking the best players. And for the longest time, that's how Team Canadas were formed. The best players are on the team. We don't care if you can play left wing or right wing or left, D right. It doesn't matter. You're one of the best 6D from Canada in the NHL. You're on the team. There's been a slight change back again, and you'll see it tomorrow when the Four Nations Cup team is announced. There's a little bit more back into this guy's a checker. We need a guy who could play this role here and that role there. So I wonder if that's not part of the issue here with this junior team as well, as to You're going to be a third line winger. We don't want the best guy, super duper goal scoring guy. We need a guy that can play both ends of the ice. So we're going to take this guy instead. And I wonder if that's crept back into the player selection process.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to just do the all-star thing, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's been lots of theories and things. To me, if you got 4 lines that are awesome, that are always going to have the puck, you'll probably have some struggles on the PK, and you'll make a couple of boneheaded defensive plays by trying to blow the zone early. But I still feel like a Team Canada that's loaded with all-stars, they may not win very many, 3-1 games,
Mm-hmm.
but I still think they'll win most of their games, like in the 8-3, 8-4 scenarios. That's kind of the way I would probably lean toward. Do you have a preference?
Well, I see both sides of it, and I'm more of a this is the type of player I want to play here, and I need to play there. But still, high end skill outweighs all other factors. Yes, he may be he's not just a high skill guy. Like there's reasons that, like John Tavares couldn't seem to make a team for a long time. Mark Savard never made a Team Canada World Junior team, and a guy was leading the OHL and scoring all the time. There's reasons that certain guys didn't make the cut because they were so one dimensional that you just couldn't have them on your team. I think there's a little bit of both here that can work. Like, yeah, I want skilled guys, but I still need some guys on my team who could check. We still got to kill the odd penalty. I still got to be able to defend a lead from time to time. I want the last minute of the period, that first shift after a PK or the first shift after a power play, certain guys and certain roles that I need. And I would still want a few of those on my team, regardless of skill.
Up on the housetop. Oh, hey. It's Steve here for Celebrate. I'm just putting on my old school Christmas lights with these obnoxious little plastic clips in minus 30-degree temperature at the top of this ladder 12 feet off the ground. No, I'm not doing any of that anymore. No, sir. Celebrate.ca. I urge you to check them out today. Celebrate is your permanent holiday lighting solution. So many options. St. Paddy's Day green, Team Canada red and white, orange for Halloween, and the beautiful colors of Christmas. And Celebrate is all controlled from your smartphone. And Celebrate's installers were absolutely fantastic and professional. I urge you to check them out today. Celebrate.ca. It's a wobbly ladder. All right, let us get to our feature interview. It is Drake's Takes, ladies and gentlemen. Drake Batherson joined us on Friday. It was an off day in Los Angeles, and this would be the day that later in the day in the game he'd get, unfortunately, a puck in the face. So this was the last time he was still looking pretty. He was still, with that thing on his face. Anyway, here's our conversation with Drake Batherson, a presentation of Jim K. Ford. Drake, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm in beautiful LA right now. It's 20 degrees out. Can't complain.
I guess. Yeah.
Snow here this morning.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
It's coming down.
Well, it didn't last. It didn't hang around, but some people had to clean off their cars this morning, Drake. It's okay.
Wow. Yeah. It could be worse, I guess. We'll see the snow in a few days.
Do you guys get to squeeze in, or is it all business? Do you get to squeeze in some golf in there somewhere in this California trip?
Usually, yeah. Yesterday we had a day off, but we just went and watched some football there, the Thanksgiving games, and pretty low key day. Yeah.
And how is the team fantasy pool this year? You professed you don't exactly have the greatest knowledge on this subject, but you're doing okay. Or who's leading this year?
Yeah, I think I actually did the draft all by myself this year. Usually I get my buddy to do it, who was a university quarterback, but I did an okay job at the draft. I made a really bad trade, but other than that, I've been pretty solid, and I'm around 500 and in a playoff spot. So
there you go.
Not doing too bad.
Meaningful games coming up.
Huge games. Yeah,
meaningful games.
I got a big game this week against Ridley, so hopefully I can squeeze out a win. I think he's in first place, so tough matchup.
Okay.
Well, I won't get into my fantasy league where I'm first place, and nobody wants to hear about that. But let's get to some hockey talk with Drake Batherson here. And I think, we're at the quarter turn roughly now, Drake, and people are saying the underlying numbers on this team are good, so that's something different than previous years, but the standings are kind of the same for this time of the year. How do you feel like the season is playing out from a team perspective for you guys?
Yeah, I think we started off playing really good hockey. I mean, we lost some games I think we could have won, and obviously went on a bit of a bad stretch there for the last 2 weeks or so, and we're able to win the last two. I mean, last game, I mean, we only had 11 shots, but we found a way to win, where years past we probably would have lost that game. So no, just trying to put the last 2 weeks behind us, getting back to playing our game, and like I said, we're able to win the last two, and I think winning last game after flying 5 hours and playing the next night was huge. And we got a couple days off here before back to back, so hopefully we can win both of them. If not, get points in them, and that'd be huge.
And how is your personal confidence coming along here? You're on pace. I just did the math. You're on pace for career highs in goals, assists, and points. I'm sure you already knew that, but what's the difference for you this year? What's been working? What's going right?
Yeah, I think just really motivated to try and turn it around here. I think on a nightly basis, just coming to the rink and doing whatever I can to help the team win. And got to give a lot of credit to the line mates I've been playing with this year for my success. And just trying to have as much fun as I can, work as hard as I can, and let the points take care of itself.
I think most of our listeners know about jet lag and what that's like, just from a day-to-day situation. But for, a professional hockey club and a player, you're Monday night taking on the Calgary Flames. Following day, you go out west. Now you get a 3-hour difference. And I was noticing after the second period in San Jose, Drake, that it was 12:30 in the morning as the second intermission began. Like, that's got to be a big change in a 48-hour kind of turnaround. Does it affect you physically? Do you feel it?
Yeah, it's weird. Like, we were going to dinner after a 5-hour flight at 7:00, and I was like so gassed. Meanwhile, it's 10:00 back home, right? So, and everyone's waking up at 5 in the morning, where really it's 8. So there's definitely an adjustment, but you just got to take a nice long pregame nap. And I think my dad was texting me after the game. It was like almost 3 a.m. in Nova Scotia. So he said he took a nap to stay up for the game. So definitely weird, but it was nice to squeeze out a win. And now we got 2 days off to kind of get adjusted to it. And, before a big back-to-back game.
So what was the game day skate? What time was that at? Was it optional? Was that mandatory? You would have skated Monday morning, right? So was it in the morning, or did they do it in the afternoon? How did that work out?
Yeah, we flew the day after the Calgary game, and then we had a mandatory morning skate. I think it was Tuesday. At 11. We flew Tuesday, morning skated Wednesday, played Wednesday night. So usually when we fly, sometimes when we practice then fly, we won't morning skate, but in this case we just flew on Tuesday and then had a skate Wednesday.
All right. Yeah. So I want to ask you about a couple of players on the team right now. And I think one of the storylines of the early part of the season is your teammate, Adam Gaudette, starts the year on waivers, fourth line center. Now he's playing with Stützle and Tkachuk, and he's got 11 goals, tied for the team lead in that department. You must be like everybody else going, well, first of all, good for you, but at the same time, this is a real pleasant surprise, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I mean, he was really highly touted coming out of college. I'm pretty sure he won the Hobey Baker, or was in the conversation for that. And last year, I think he set a franchise record in the AHL for goals with 44. So, and then he comes into camp. I think he scores 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken, in preseason. And just kind of continue that. So it's been awesome for us. Super pumped for him, and he's been huge, helping our team out to win games.
Now, Steve and I joke about it because we often want to call him Donald Audette, who, of course, played for the Buffalo Sabres back in the day. And last night, Steve and I were talking about this, and I said, look, from now on, we're just going to call him Donald. I think that should be his official nickname. Does the man have a nickname, or you just call him God?
Yeah, I think his Twitter name handle or something is the Hockey God. So
Okay.
I mean, I just call them gods, but
Oh boy, imagination there.
yeah, whatever works. I mean, whatever he's doing, he's got to keep doing it. He's been playing great, and like I said, scoring some huge goals for us.
Okay, so while we're on the subject of nicknames, please tell me the Trail Mix Hammock is now an official moniker that we all call him Trail Mix in the room.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many people are calling him that, but that was an awesome video by that girl. Her just naming everyone's names, but no, I think Hammer's kind of stuck on him. I don't know if any of the boys are calling him that, but maybe I'll use it every once in a while.
Drop one in.
Yeah.
Love it. So let's talk about the room a little bit from the perspective of, I think there's 8 or 9 new skaters from this time last year. And you still, you're part of the young core that's, gotten another year older. So what's the room like now? Has it been a transition with so many new bodies coming in for this season?
Yeah, no, I feel like it usually takes a bit of time for everyone to adjust. I mean, I've never gone through a trade or moving to a new city, but I'm sure it takes a month or two to get settled in, and families, are in school and stuff like that. So it's definitely a transition, I'm sure, for new guys. But as far as at the rink, it's been awesome. I mean, everyone was in 2 to 3 weeks before camp, and the new guys have fit in great. We've been having a blast every day. So it's definitely more fun when you're winning. So hopefully we can keep that up. But no, as far as the new guys coming in, it's been seamless, and they fit in awesome.
And transition wise with the coaching staff, how's that been for you? Likes, dislikes, you're doing well. So you must appreciate some things that some of these guys are bringing to the table on the coaching staff.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome. I mean, they're all ex-players who played a long time and been around the NHL for a while now. So it's been great getting some new knowledge from some new coaches, and I've loved every second of it so far. And like I said, once we get a few more wins, it'll be even better.
Anything specific from Daniel Alfredson? Because, I mean, with all due respect to you, he is the greatest right winger in Ottawa Senators history. Maybe you get there someday. Who knows? But I'm sure there's some specific guidance that he's maybe been able to give to you.
Yeah, those are big shoes to fill. Obviously, a Hall of Famer. So I don't know if I'll ever get there one day. But he's awesome. The way he sees the game, I feel like is totally different than any other coach I've had. Like, for example, a week ago, I got 2 passes in a row on my skates and just kind of mishandled it. So the next morning, he takes me out and just fires about 30 pucks on my skates just to clean it up. So, and just as far as anything goes, like shooting or shootouts or stuff, I remember last year I wasn't great in shootouts, and he sat me down. We watched shootout goals for 20 minutes, and then I think I went 2 for 2 after that in the shootout. So it's really cool the way he looks at the game, just like the little aspects of it, and just a fun guy to talk to about hockey.
And I'm wondering about adjustments as far as Linus Ullmark comes in. This is a new goaltender. Now, there are certain rules that have to be followed when you're dealing with a goaltender, pre-game, post-game, where he sits, when you talk to him, where you shoot, all that sort of stuff. How's that been as far as peculiarities are concerned with dealing with a new goaltender now?
Yeah, no, as far as Linus, like his superstitions, it's kind of different than any other goalie I've seen. Pretty relaxed before the game, plays soccer with us. I think he's in the hot tub for like 10 minutes and then plays soccer, a little stretch, and throws the gear on. So I feel like most goalies are pretty, I don't know if I want to say dialed in. He's obviously dialed in, but they have a long warm up and go through certain things, but he's more relaxed side, I think.
Yeah, he seems to have an interesting personality just in the conversations and the media scrums and such. I don't know if I've encountered anybody like him. Shane Pinto, great with the media as well. And I wanted to ask you about, because we always ask you about that summertime skate, but this year you had Shane Pinto out for a couple of weeks. How did that go?
It was awesome. I mean, I think I've said this before, but he didn't start playing until he was 10 years old. And the only reason he started playing was because of Sid. So him coming into town and getting to train and skate with Sid every day was awesome, and having him there for 2 weeks it was great. We got out golfing with some of the guys from the skate, and I think he really enjoyed it. And I think he's going to come back every summer now.
And we should mention also with that skate, Nathan McKinnon's there, right? And I'm sorry, Patrice. No, I wanted to say Patrice Bergeron for some Brad Marchand. So there's three guys right there who are probably playing for Team Canada. At least, well, I know what two of them are already guaranteed, right? Or all three of them. Anyway, they're probably playing for Team Canada coming up here in February. What are you thinking about that? Is it just going to sit back and be a fan, or are you leaving the country?
No, that's going to be awesome. I mean, talking with those guys this summer about it, I know they're super pumped for it. Our video coach Kinger just got named to the US team, which is super cool. And I think Dom and Johnny are on the Canada staff. So it's going to be awesome hockey to watch. Obviously, it's been a while since the best on best has gone at it, and super excited. I mean, I might be on a beach somewhere watching it, but either way, I'll be tuning in.
So how are you spending your downtime these days? I know you like to watch a lot of hockey, and but Greg and I, after every show, we generally talk about, whatever TV show we're watching these days. Like, what are you up to these days between games and such, besides appearing on award-winning podcasts?
Yeah. Not a whole lot, honestly. I got a couple dogs, so take them for a walk. The new Call of Duty game came out, so me and my buddies probably 2-3 times a week are playing that at night. That's how I kind of keep in touch with them. We get the headsets on and play for a couple hours. So watch some hockey, cook dinner. Other than that, I don't do a whole lot. Just kind of hang out in the house and play a little Call of Duty.
So you got a second dog. So the first one was Bobby, I think, right?
Yeah.
So so now you've got a second one. Tell us about it. Or him or her.
Yeah. So I got Bobby, 3. He just turned 3, French bulldog, and then I got a second dog. Ivy is a Doberman, so just kind of protects the house and patrols around the property. But she wouldn't hurt a fly. She's awesome. She likes me more than the other dogs, so she's always on my hip, actually, which is nice.
And I saw you on with Claire Hanna doing that walk the dog thing in the park or whatever. I saw one other one. I can't remember who it was. I think maybe it was Allmark did one. Has there been more?
Yeah.
Have I missed any, or has there just been the 2?
I think it's just been the 2 so far. Me and Allmark. Yeah.
Walking a dog in the park with Claire Hanna. Have you seen those, Steve?
I know the only reference I've heard to it was Drake addressing it in one of the media scrums. I still haven't seen it yet, so I'll keep an eye out for it. Just to close out today, Drake, I think that, Sens fans are hoping this, mini 2-game streak that you're on right now maybe means you've turned a corner. You've kind of lived this before. The standings are, like I said earlier, are kind of what they've been in previous seasons. Do you feel like there's something different brewing here, though? Like I mentioned, the underlying numbers and such, but living it now and being around the guys, do you feel like something's different from previous years, even though the standings are kind of the same?
Yeah, I just think the confidence in the room. I think in years past, it was kind of like, here we go again at this point in the year, where this year it's more positive. Everyone's coming to the rink still in a great mood and believing that we can beat anyone on any given night, where in years past, I don't know if we've had that confidence, but as we're getting older and maturing a bit and adding a few more veterans in the room, it's been helping out. And obviously 2 huge games coming up. So hopefully we can get on a bit of a run here, come home with a 4-game winning streak. It'd be nice.
I always have to ask, because I'm always keen to see what the new ride is. What does Jason at Jim K. Ford set you up with this year?
Yeah, I got a 2-door Bronco this year. So I found the truck last year. Anytime I go downtown, it's tough to park. So I wanted something a little easier to park and pull into parking garages. So it's awesome though. I love it. I had one a few years ago from them, so went back to it.
Did you hear that? Did Noah Gregor, who's also now working with Jim K. Ford, did you hear that in the first week that he got his new vehicle, he got scratched, or a dent or something?
I heard that he might have ran into something in his parking garage. I don't know. I'm not going to start any rumors, but that's just what I heard.
We'll keep that quiet.
Yeah. We'll keep it quiet. We'll buff it out. It's all good. Drake Batherson is all good as well, and we appreciate him joining us today, joining the program today. And good luck in the last 2 games in Cali, and we look forward to talking again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Appreciate it.
And so there he goes, Drake Batherson of the Ottawa Senators, and the conversation, of course, brought to you by Jim K. Ford. And as we wrap things up today, Greg, what did I want to talk about? David Perron. Travis Green gave a bit of an update and said he'll be out for a little while longer here. Hopefully it's not too long. He's already missed 4 games with an upper body injury. He missed almost a month dealing with family issues. And obviously people are grumbling about that stat line of 0 points in 9 games. But I'm kind of the opinion, when you saw those early games in the season, he's out there playing with Pinto and Amadio. Pinto and Amadio, with the exception of Pinto's last game, he was very good, as we talked about. Pinto and Amadio looked very good with, and the underlying numbers looked amazing too with David Perron to start the year. I think his return to the lineup, particularly when you think that Nick Cousins is tracking to be in his spot in the next game on Thursday night against the Detroit Red Wings. I think Perron is a little more important to this team than maybe the average fan feels like at this stage.
Yeah, it's frustrating. There was some chemistry there developing with Amadio and Pinto, and while Amadio and Perron were not putting up stats, that is actually when they all played best. Was their best when they were all playing together, and it's a little frustrating. It's got to be frustrating for Travis Green. You've got players playing out of slot, players playing minutes that I don't really think this guy's a third line player, but. By default, he's the third line winger tonight. So it's frustrating. Perron, when he was in the lineup, even think of the goal that was disallowed, the play he made on the pass to the goal mouth was a beauty. He brings something. Sorry? It was a goal. Yeah,
that was a goal.
Yeah.
God, terrible goal.
No. Stutz hacked the guy's stick out of his hand, remember? Anyway.
No, he didn't.
David Perron brings, there's a veteran presence. There's a difference probably when Perron's in the room. There's a difference when Perron's on the bench. There's a difference that he brings to the game of some other people when he's on the ice. He does play a role in that second PP unit, and he hasn't been there hardly at all year. So I just, when he's back and he's healthy, I think it'll get Pinto and Amadio going. Let's hope it's sooner rather than later.
And as Shane Pinto talked about at Tuesday practice, he knows he has to be better.
Yeah, I gotta do that more consistently. I think everyone knows that I gotta be better, and the team needs me to be better if we want to start winning games. So, I think I could build off of that and just keep building my confidence back up and get back to playing my game. So, hopefully, we'll get there.
What has to happen for this group? It's just
I don't know. I think that's what we're trying to figure out. I think that's the biggest thing in this league. If you can play consistently, I think the results come, and we just haven't found that yet. But you just gotta stick to the process. I think that's all we say, but it's true. I think Greener's done a good job of that. We did another video session today to try to get better and just try to continue to grow and mature and just try to play more consistent.
Shane Pinto in conversation with the media, and that clip, by the way, courtesy of the Senators and their YouTube channel, as was the clip from Travis Green. And with that, we'll call it a day. Sens taking on the Detroit Red Wings on Thursday, the reunion of the pizza line. Were you of the opinion, did you say in the last show, that you think they'll gear up and take a spin around?
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think so. What are they going to do? Just come out?
Alfie did it, right?
Yeah, what are they going to do? Just come out and drop a puck? I don't want to see that. Gear up, boys. Let's see them out for the warm-up. Heater with a couple of high risers.
Yeah, I'm keen to see what they will do, and I'm also keen to see what the fans think about Danny Heatley. I think that most fans are bygones be bygones, but a few people have, shot me a note on social media like, screw that guy. To me, it's like, if you have any level of interest in any member of the pizza line, they all left of their own volition because they were not very happy here. Correct. So Heatley was the most dramatic of the three, but if you've forgiven Spezza and Alfie, you could probably do same for Danny Heatley because he had his reasons for wanting to leave. It had nothing to do with the city, and it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's a convenient memory to forget that Alfie asked out too. Alfie left as a free agent, signed elsewhere. He could have signed here, didn't want to. Spezza asked for a trade, so Yeah, you're right. It's just that Heatley was, I don't know, he was polarizing in a way, right? He not as friendly and fun and cheerful and media friendly as the other two, right? So that probably plays into it too.
Yeah,
but probably the biggest partier of the three, though.
I don't know. I have no idea. Hey, let's call it quits right there immediately. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us here tonight on the program. Don't forget that our website is sensnationhockey.com, and please check out the Hockey News Ottawa. That is at thn.com/Ottawa. All kinds of cool Sens articles there. And thank you for being with us today. We'll talk to you in our next episode. Thanks, Greg.
Talk soon. Thanks, bud.